Hey guys, ShadowRock here with probably the last Rockman X DiVE pre-release update before the game launches on March 24th. Isn't that crazy? Yeah, in case you haven't heard, March 24th is indeed a release date for Asian territories. But I don't want to spend this video going down that rabbit hole again, so if you want to hear all the information about that, you can check out the previous video we did. Instead, this time we're going to cover a lot of pre-release information that's come out from the Taiwanese media and Capcom Taiwan themselves over the last couple days. Oh, and this post from the Rockman X DiVE Facebook page. They're doing a countdown to the days until the closed beta test. Today marks 5 days until, but the previous day they posted this interesting image. It just features the X figure looking at the PC and a calendar. What I want to draw your attention to is the calendar itself, where March 24th is circled with the letters OBT. In other words, Open Beta Test. That's right, it looks like apparently the launch of the game is secretly the Open Beta Test. The same one that was promised a long time ago, but we haven't gotten it until now. So I guess you could say this upcoming launch is going to be a soft launch. Another way you could put it is that whoever's going to be playing on the 24th are essentially going to be the guinea pigs while they continue to fix bugs. This might be the reason why they're only releasing in Asia so far. Interesting indeed. Going back to the media coverage though, first off, Repboy21XX on Twitter shared this article that confirms a couple of things. First, it looks like the level cap at launch is going to be level 60, and we will have video evidence of this later on as well. The second piece of information is that you can equip 2 dive triggers, however you can only use the 2 once per level or PvP match. Due to how strong they are meant to be essentially giga attacks after all. But that is cool to know that you can have 2 with you at any time. I think it will lend better to the strategic part of when are you going to use them and which ones are you going to use. Link to his tweet is screenshots from mofang.com. They have their own Rockman X DiVE preview where they show us some scenes of Storm Owl stage, Storm Eagle stage, and the Floating Run stage. In the Storm Owl stage shot, there's nothing too much new here, but we do get to see the plasma cannon firing the shot off. Nothing too fancy, but there it is. We also see a new section of the Storm Eagle stage. And once again, like I said, you can see the Reaper 4 ships in the background. What are they doing here? In the Floating Run screenshot, this is an entirely new section of the Floating Runs that I have not seen in 1-1, so this might be 1-2 or another section of it. Most notably, however, is the return of the Mega Mantor from Mega Man X Command Mission. Presumably it's firing missiles at X here. It's cool to see this enemy come back. The last screenshot shows off X using the Electric Spark dive trigger in the highway stage. Next up, we have the media coverage from outlet 1UC. We have a YouTube video that was discovered first by MegaQuint, and 21XX helped us find the article that the video originates from. Before we take a deep dive into the gameplay footage, let's first take a look at the article. The first screenshot I want to look at is the one featuring the different weapons. Why, you ask? That's because if you take a look at the names of the weapons here and you play the closed beta test, you may notice that some of these names have changed. In fact, the vast majority of them have. So I'm going to go down the list here and tell you all the weapon changes I documented as well as a couple new ones I saw. The A rank weapon Blood Revere has now been renamed to the Elite Lance. I guess they want to get away from things like blood in their titles. 2 other A-rank weapons that are now different is the Falcon Buster, now the Arrow Buster, and the ZX Saber, now the Triangular Saber. The Masider Launcher is now the Drill Head Cannon, the Air Vortex Buster is now the Wind Pressure Buster, Saber is the Standard Saber, Mammoth Flamer is now the Burning Sprayer, Common Launcher is the Energy Cannon. Buster has been renamed to Mega Buster Mark 17 after X himself. That's probably the most interesting change, which you see while browsing the shops and the footage. 2 new weapons that I spotted both in the screenshots and the footage is the Crushing Spray and the Gas Emitter. The next screenshot takes us to the character select screen where we can see Black Zero's skills, where it is confirmed that Raikosen can indeed paralyze enemies. We'll see how broken that can get. We'll dive into the rest of the character select screen stuff when we get into the video proper. But the big exciting thing that the article shows is the confirmation that you can play as a right armor in X-Dive. In this case, you see First Armor X piloting the right armor from X8. Judging from the icons, it seems the main weapon will be punching. One skill is perhaps the charge punch that drills into the enemy, and the second skill being the launcher on its back. Maybe it'll still paralyze like in X8? We'll have to see. But that is awesome that the right armor is now confirmed. Another tidbit we got out of this article is that one UC actually got a chance to try out the hard mode in the game, where they were told that depending on the difficulty that you select when you go into a stage, certain aspects of a stage can change, such as enemy placement, and some quote, surprise elements. Just thought I should mention that. Another set of screenshots comes to us via GNN News. We get a look at things like getting First Armor X in the Gacha and an S-Class weapon too. But there is a new S-Class weapon here, which I don't know the exact name for it. The best translation I could get is something along the lines of Demon Sword or Muramasa. This could also be the Rei Ichimonji from Mega Man X Command Mission, one of Zero's weapons he could obtain in that game. Another screenshot shows us this roulette mode, which kind of reminds someone of Russian roulette. There's numbers 1 through 8, and you can spend anywhere from 100 to 1000 zenny to get 1 to 10 rolls. Rico just says try your luck. So I'm not exactly sure what this is for, but judging from the zenny gauge on the right, maybe this is a way to make more money by gambling? Oh boy, gambling laws are not gonna like this game. But jokes aside, we will see what this roulette is all about when the game comes out. With that said, let's take a look at the gameplay footage, shall we? Now what you're looking at here is the TGS build of the game. What does TGS mean? I believe it means the Taipei Game Show that was actually postponed recently because of the whole coronavirus crisis going on right now. It seems this was the build of the game they meant to show off at that show. That said, most of this build is pretty much identical with the closed beta test. However, there are a lot of little differences here that closed beta test players will notice is very different. Let's break down all the differences we can find. Starting things off, you can now skip the tutorials with Rico, which was a requested feature. When you are playing through a stage, there is a new icon on the top right of the screen that will say either go or in battle. This will indicate whether you can progress in the stage or if you are in a mandatory fight where you will have to either clear the enemies on the screen or defeat the boss to move forward. Speaking of bosses, in this footage with the giant boss from X3, there is one difference in it, mainly the visual tell when it's about to do the sweeping attack. Now it is so huge, it is painfully obvious when the attack is coming now. We do not know if this is going to be only for the tutorial stage though. Anyway, after you beat a boss, you have X do the standard pose and then warp out of the stage, but as he's warping out you will notice that there is more dynamic camera pans now, so that's cool. Time to get your wallets out because we are now visiting the Gacha section of the game, which has seen quite a few additions since the closed beta test. In the TGS build of the game, we have a banner here that features Cinnamon from Command Mission, First Armor X, and Black Zero, 3 S-Class characters. The game also says that capsules can be activated one time for free every day during the event. It's unknown if this will be the first banner when the game launches, or this is just a placeholder for the TGS build. But the single biggest addition to the gacha is the thing that every gacha mobile game has. Those fancy animations that play when you do a pull. For X-Dive, the scenes take place in a chamber containing the capsule that spawns your item. The color of the hologram can give you a hint at what item you're gonna get. Blue for B class, pink for A class, and gold for S class. If you're getting a weapon, it will show an icon of the Buster, but you won't see what weapon you'll actually get until it moves over to the next screen that shows it off. The footage also shows us that you can tap to skip some of the scenes to get through the gacha faster. I believe you should be able to skip the whole thing as well if you prefer to go that way. But because the players skip through a bit, we also don't get to see what the characters look like in hologram form. But we do see that when you do unlock one, you get to see a 2D puppet animated version of their key art, and then you are shown their 3D modeled introduction that also plays on the character select screen, along with their skill icons. Certainly this makes the whole gacha experience way more flashier than the closed beta test, where you just click the button and then you're shown the list immediately of what you got. This was a requested feature by our own DiVE gameplay back when we discussed things that we would want added to XDive, and it's really awesome that it's finally here, at least in the open beta test, because it's not actually the final game apparently. Otherwise, there aren't too many other changes from the beta. So let's move on to our first gameplay of First Armor X. We're gonna have to jump around in the video quite a bit here to see all of what he can do, but most of the footage shows him using the Gatling gun. We get to see him on the highway stage in a PvP match and a co-op match too. During the PvP match is where we can see his Rock Crusher skill, where X jumps up at a 45-degree angle from his position. Sort of underwhelming, especially because he missed zero in this shot. However, the spiral shot looks more promising. Seen in the co-op footage, the spiral shot works similarly to the original counterpart. It just fires this big old tapeworm, and just like in the original, it seems to be composed of several different smaller shots. We don't get to see whether this multi-hits, but if it does, this could really tear through enemies, especially because in XDive, iframes aren't really a thing. The last tidbit about First Armor X is a fun little Easter egg. Every single sound effect that First Armor X uses is straight from the Super Nintendo original. From the charge shot, to the dashing, to the teleporting sound effects too. They all evoke nostalgia for players of the Super Nintendo original. Speaking of Super Nintendo Easter eggs, when X encounters the Beeblader in the highway stage, a new addition from the closed beta test is a boss theme. Which boss theme is it? It's actually the one from X2. And it's not a remix either. It's the Super Nintendo version of the boss theme from X2. Very interesting. That definitely was not there in the beta. Oh, and while we're on the topic of sound effects, there are quite a few new ones in this build of the game, for things like navigating through the menus, and for the Gatling weapon too. Nice. Now we once again revisit the character select screen. Here we get to see the full lineup of the characters that are going to be available at launch. There's the ones that were already available in the closed beta test, so I won't go over them again. The new ones since the beta test, however, include Massimo from Command Mission, who is a B class character. Oh, and speaking of Command Mission characters, Marno has actually seen a buff from Class B to Class A since the closed beta test. Interesting. The rest of the new characters, however, include a whole slew of S-class characters, including Black Zero, Verum from Command Mission, Cinnamon from Command Mission, First Armor X, and what do you know, they also got Second Armor X in here. Yeah, they haven't officially revealed Second Armor X here, but I guess they let the cat out of the bag now with this build. We'll go ahead and show all the character introductions right here, but suffice to say, they are very cool once again, referencing their own official artworks from each of the original games. I just love the attention to detail and fan service here. Ultimate Armor X is also still visible in this list, even though he's no longer mentioned on the official website. On that note, I wonder if you're still going to be able to see the full list of characters that are available in the game, even the ones that you don't have already, in the final build of the game. I guess it's useful as a list of who you still need to get, but it's also a big tease to have a character you can't play as yet on your screen. There's even a new view button that will allow you to view the artwork of each of the characters, complete with their 2D puppet animations. You can even view the artwork for characters you don't have yet, which is why I wonder if you're still going to be able to do that in the final game, because I would think that being able to look at the introductions and the artwork of the character should be a reward for actually pulling them in the gacha. That's just my opinion though. Otherwise, that's pretty much all the relevant information on this part of the video. All the skill stuff is already listed on the website and we covered it in the past, so I won't repeat myself here. I'm not done with the opinions yet though, because I do want to draw your attention at the ratio of characters we're looking at in terms of rarity. So far at launch we have 4 B-class characters, 4 A-class characters, and then a whopping 6 S-class characters available in the game. Considering that S-class is the highest rarity currently, that ratio is ever so slightly out of whack. This game is not even out yet, and the S-class characters are already outnumbering the rest. On that note, I get it. Cinnamon has the Force Metal Generator. She's pretty special in that way. She's also the healer, and she's got the kitty gloves. But still, I seriously do not agree with having Cinnamon as an S-class character. As special as she is, I don't think she's that special. If anything, I would make her an A-class, and then down the line if they make an Iron Maiden variant, make that one the S-class. Just like how Zero is A-class, but Black Zero is S. I certainly don't think she should be up there with the likes of Ultimate Armor X and Black Zero. In fact, if it were me, and I was being really nitpicky about this, I would drop all those S-class characters except for Ultimate and Black Zero. Because obviously those two should be way more powerful than the rest of X's armors, Ferrum and Cinnamon, which make up the rest of the S-classes. I mean, I could give Ferrum a pass since she's supposed to be a cadre, but the rest is like, I think it makes more sense as A. Like X's armors for example. Vanilla X starts out at B class, so you think first and second armor should be one rank up at A, and then S would be Ultimate. But the fact that all the armors are going to be S, that tells me that they're not necessarily going by power level of these classes. It's pretty much a fan favorite thing. Obviously everybody loves X and his armors, so they're all going to be really hard to get being an S class, regardless of how good they may be in battle. That's all fine and dandy, but another major difference between the classes is how many passive abilities each character gets. As far as I recall from the beta, B class had 3 skills, A had 4, and S had 5 skills. In other words, characters like Cinnamon is going to have 5 skills, while poor old Massimo here got the short end of the stick out of the command mission characters, only getting 3 passive skills, just because Cinnamon is 2 tiers higher. I should note that I'm not a big mobile game player, so I understand if a lot of what I'm talking about is pretty much the norm in other Gacha mobile games, but to me, as a big Mega Man X fan, I just don't agree with things like Cinnamon being S, and it's just regular Cinnamon, not even Iron Maiden, while characters like Marno and Massimo get the short end of the stick. I know that Massimo had those elemental weaknesses and he wasn't the best character in the world, even though his action trigger was pretty good, so I can kinda see where they're coming from with the B class, but still man, it's just weird to me. I don't know how else to describe it. It makes me wonder if they're going to introduce the SS class later on, because we're already seeing SS class for dive triggers and things like that. I don't know if they'll ever apply that to characters, but right now we are only sitting at 3 different tiers, and if they are keen on making almost every new character an S class, especially when we get into the crossovers like classic Mega Man and all that, the ratio is definitely going to get even more imbalanced as the game goes on. But I'm told that that's how most mobile games go, so it's probably not a big deal. That's my rant though. So let's get back to the analysis. We get to see some player versus player in this footage, and now when the versus screen appears displaying the players and their characters, the stage start theme from X Challenge and Mega Man X Legacy Collection actually plays here. Yeah, that version specifically is interesting. It's pretty good though. A couple of new additions to the screen is displaying the weapons that each player has equipped and showing how much of each side has loaded up the match through percentages. Otherwise, we see the same Armor Armadillo stage, so there's not much to talk about there, other than the fact that the health pickup that you can get on either side of the stage here does now have a slight delay between when you pick it up and it actually healing you. It also uses the command mission healing sound effect. Another change is something that the developers themselves promised a while ago. and that is adding a longer invincible time after you respawn, to prevent other players from spawn scumming you. I still wish we had actual iframes though. Lastly, we have co-op. Just like in the closed beta test, it is once again the 40 run stage 1-1. It's pretty much identical to the beta, so there's not much to talk about there. But I do want to talk about the menu. In the footage, they do show off the stage list for co-op mode. It seems like there's going to be a stage for every 5 level increment after 20 all the way up to the level cap, which is 60. And this is our video evidence of the level cap indeed being 60. So if there's one stage every 5 levels, that means there are about 9 stages or 10 in total. And we can guess that at least 1 or 2 more of those are going to be dedicated to the 40 run, since it does say 1-1. And with that last discovery, this is the end of what is likely our last analysis for Rockman X DiVE before the game actually comes out. Man, it's actually kind of depressing thinking about it now. But X DiVE is an ever-evolving game, so there will of course be more opportunities to analyze new characters in stages as they are announced. Overall, I'm liking the new additions and changes here since the closed beta test, and I can't wait to see more of this game when it comes out on March 24th, at least the open beta test. I want to thank you guys so much for watching, and tell me in the comments, what are you looking forward to most about Rockman X DiVE? For all things Rockman X DiVE and Mega Man in general, stay tuned to ShadowRockZX. Thank you once again, and until next time, rock on and have an excellent day.